What's up, duelists? I'm back. I'm back for a day. A day, I know. It's been a little while. I'm sorry, guys. I couldn't reinvent the meta yet again, but I'm back for a day. And I've got a brand new deck list for y'all. This is a deck list I've been theorizing, I've been working on for a very long time, and I think I finally have it to a place where I'm comfortable showing it to you guys, the viewers. This is my Needlebug Monarch deck list. I've taken a lot of inspiration from a lot of different places, mainly from Umix's top 8 Lightsworn Christia deck list, mainly from the Lightsworn Monarch deck list that actually top 8'd the Shonen Jump Championship, and then from a few different other decks that I've played on the channel, like the Doomsworn deck and whatnot. So the point of this deck is to get really busted mills. You'll see the top 11 cards of this deck are really good cards to mill. Wolf, Shiny Black Sea, Necro Garnet, Dandelion, Plague Spreader, and Treeborn Frog. All great cards to mill off the top of your deck into the graveyard. Then, of course, you want to have cards that mill. So we've got full 7 Lightsworn monsters that mill, Hamster that gets you to Raikou, you've got Recharges, you've got Charge, and then you've got 3 copies of Needlebug Nest. This is a really busted card. This is one of those cards that its power level carries over into modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Sending the top 5 cards of your deck to the graveyard is a really powerful effect if you hit 2 or even more cards that give you value when they're milled. For example, if you activate Needlebug Nest and you get a Wolf, that's pretty good. That is a Cyber Dragon, a chainable Cyber Dragon. That's not bad at all. Huge body, free summon, and then you get to set up your graveyard for maybe Pot of Avarice. Okay, can't complain. But let's say you activate Needlebug Nest, you mill a Shiny Black Sea and a Wolf. Now you've got a Jank Trap Hole and a Wolf for the price of 1 card, and you got it chainable, so potentially even a +1 on a Space Typhoon or a Heavy Storm or something like that. So there's a lot of potential for this card to get you +1, +2, even +3 in some circumstances. So it's a very, very powerful card, and I think this is the type of list that really wants to abuse it. Now, what do you do with that card advantage once you've got it? Well, Shiny Black Sea is really good against decks that are trying to synchro against you, like Zombies, Vayu. This can stop synchro monsters when they're special summoned from the graveyard or from other effects like Vayu exactly. Against Blackwings, it's pretty good. You know, it's just a good way to solidify your position once you stick a Monarch to the board. The biggest issue with Monarch decks, in my opinion, is that when you summon a Monarch, it's pretty strong, right? But every other deck can kind of counteract that by just summoning a Synchro monster. Now, provided that Synchro monster isn't Stardust Dragon, Shiny Black Sea can just pop it for free and defend your Monarch even better, more or less. So I think that having the Monarchs as your main strategy and then the Shiny Black Sea to back up those Monarchs is a really good place to be in terms of just like the way the cards function with each other. Now, of course, you've got to have Lila and Honest. This is like one of the strongest starts you can have in the game right now, I think, in my opinion. You've got Hamster, which can set up for your Monarchs. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Hamster when I get to the sideboard. You've got Card Trooper. This card is important. You've got Debris Dragon. Now, Debris Dragon is kind of like your Jank Judgment Dragon. You only get to play 1 because you can shuffle it back with Avarice. You don't really want to brick on it either. And this isn't really a synchro deck. You just kind of want to like have access to that nuke in late game situations where you need to Avarice back a nuke or something. It comes up a lot. You oftentimes go for like a value nuke. Debris Dragon is basically Judgment Dragon, but faster. You don't need to have 4 names in the graveyard. You just need to have 1, which is Dandelion or Card Trooper. And then you can summon it. You can blow up the field. You could also have like a combination of like Raikou, Treeborn, that type of thing. So yeah, Debris Dragon really solid. Got to play Chaos Sorcerer. It's another free summon that this deck sort of needs. You need a lot of speed when you're playing Monarch decks because Monarchs in general are inherently slow. They eat your own normal summons, so you need ways to like kind of counteract that, supposedly. Not supposedly, but you get the idea. And then we are playing Card Destruction because, again, you're going to draw a lot of these cards that you intend on milling. So just Card Destruction, get rid of it. Card Destruction is normally pretty bad in this format because you set up your opponent's graveyard. But the decks that you set up the graveyard against, Shiny Black Sea is pretty good against. So, like, if you Card Destruction and you discard your opponent's Vayu and Sirocco, but you discard your own Shiny Black Sea, it's 1 for 1. It's fine. Whereas if you're playing Card Destruction in something like Lightsworn and then you discard your opponent's Vayu and Sirocco, you're giving your opponent's pluses, basically, more or less. Okay, sideboard. The sideboard is where this deck took me the longest to sort of figure out. We've got 2 Hamster. Why do we have 2 Hamster in the side? Well, when you're going first against some decks, you just really want to start Hamster. So you'll side out some stuff, right? You'll side out some of the weaker stuff. Some decks, Shiny Black Sea is not very good against. So you just side out all 3 of those. And then going first, you can bring in the Hamsters. Going second, you get to bring in Cyber Dragon. And the reason you do that on those specific turns or whatever is because if I'm going second, my opponent's going to set a monster, and my hamster is going to be pretty bad if that's like a Raikou or their own hamster or anything, if they have a Monarch, whatever. But Cyber Dragon's pretty good because if they set a monster, I can special summon Cyber Dragon and sack it for a Monarch. So you basically get to pick and choose the best configuration for going first, going second, while having like the most like diverse, not diverse, but like you don't have a deck that's bad going second by overloading on Mega Hamsters or like mainboarding Cyber Dragons or whatever. You have the option to pick and choose based off of that game 2 and game 3. Then I do have double Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. So my plan for Graveyard Hate with this deck is to counteract my opponent's Soul Releases by bringing in Kaikus, and counteract my opponent's DD Crows and stuff by bringing in Kaikus. Also by bringing in the Lightning Vortexes. My game plan against Frogs is just summon a Kaiku, Vortex their Frogs, attack with Kaiku, get both the Treeborns, and then hopefully just chill from there and win from there. That's my game plan there. Kaiku's also pretty good against zombies. It stops Mizuki. It's pretty good against Vayu. It stops that stuff. So if you card destruction, then summon a Kaiku. Doesn't matter if you set it up their graveyard or whatever. Helps you against Chaos Sorcerer, Dark Armed, all that kind of stuff. I think it's the right choice for the Graveyard Hate for this deck. You basically just want to bring in Kaikus, bring in the Vortexes, and then you like Vortex, pitch something like Shiny Black Sea or whatever, and then you normal summon a Kaiku, and that's a pretty strong position to be in because you're going to be able to banish their graveyard, you're going to be able to defend your Kaiku, and then clear your opponent's board. So, strong stuff. And then you got to sideboard Gores because this deck is a little bit weak to OTKs. You don't have a lot of defense. One of the worst matchups with this deck is probably Glads. I don't think Gores is that good here. Honestly, I don't know how this deck ever beats Glads, but hey, it can beat just about anything else. Maybe you just summon a Wolf and that's good enough against Glads. Summon a Cyber Dragon, just go the distance. But yeah, the Vortexes, gotta have them for Vanities, Christia, that type of thing. Brain Control, it's in the side. I know a lot of people are going to be like, why is it in the side? Because every single card in the main deck is either high impact or it protects your high impact. So Honest is like the worst card in the main deck, technically. Shiny Black Sea also. These are like the two worst cards in the main deck. But they protect your high impact plays, which is like Summon Lila. The reason we have Summon Lila and Raikou instead of Heavy Storm and Space Typhoon in the main is if I summon Lila, right? Lila can break a back row the same way Space Typhoon can. But then Lila can also mill a Wolf and mill a Shiny Black Sea, and it can also attack. So it's never really dead. Whereas Heavy Storm and Space Typhoon against stuff like Frogs, it's pretty dead. Royal Decree against stuff like Frogs is pretty dead. So generally speaking, you want to have your millers, and they also double as like Space Typhoon stuff. That's the general theory. That's why we're siding these cards for decks that they're good against. Brain Control, Lightning Vortex, just good against the other, decks that are summoning against you. Brain Control, not the best against like set decks. And it's also pretty low impact. This isn't really an OTK deck or a Synchro deck. The best thing you can do is Brain Control, sack for a Monarch, but your opponent's going to be playing pretty light into your setup usually. They're going to be like playing pretty passively into Raikou and Lila. So Brain Control, sack for Monarch isn't going to get you the value you want a large percentage of the time. It's a good comeback tool against decks that can swarm, but yeah, it just didn't make the main deck here. I don't think there's really anything I would cut for it from the main deck, honestly. I think the main deck is pretty tight. I got 3 replays for you guys. I'll show them to you. This is all I've had the chance to record in the last week or so, but we'll go ahead and check them out. First one's against Game Lord 919. I go ahead and win the rock, paper, scissors. Pretty important in decks like this, because if you want to mill, going first is obviously really good. This hand's really solid. We've got Nimble Mega Hamster, we've got Monarchs, and we're going first. So set the Hamster, pass. Opponent just draws and passes, so I'm like, okay, that's Gores. I'm going to flip Hamster. I'm going to special my Raikou. I'm going to attack for 1100. Here, I made a little bit of a mistake. I was thinking, okay, they probably have Gores. I should set maybe my other Raikou, but I probably should have set Shiny Black Sea, because next turn, if they have Gores, I have Raikou, and then I can sack the Shiny Black Sea for a Monarch to pop the Gores. So I was thinking I should have set Shiny Black Sea here. In hindsight, it also is good if the opponent is sandbagging Debris Dragon, Torrential Tribute, something like that. So I set my other Raikou. Bit of a misplay here. Second turn of a game in 5 days, and I'm feeling a little bit airheaded. Yeah, opponent sets a background. I'm like, shit, I should have played around Torrential. I'll just attack for 11, and then I'll set the Treeborn. Treeborn's not doing me any favors in my hand. Yeah, I can pitch it to Lumina, but I could also pitch Shiny Black Sea to Lumina, so I'm just going to get the Treeborn in play. If that is a Torrential, then our Treeborn hits the grave, and we can still Monarch next turn. Looks like it is. They normal summon Honest, and they activate Torrential. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, they've got Honest and Torrential in their deck. They're either playing some variation of like the Lila Honest stuff, but those decks don't normally play Torrential Tribute because you don't want to torrential away your own Lila. So they're probably playing Fairies or Lightsworn with torrential. But again, torrential is not that common main deck in Lightsworn. It is seen sometimes, but maybe like 15% of lists play it, maybe less than that. We do get torrentialed, which sucks. So I'm thinking right now that they're on Fairies. They said another background pass. I'm like, okay, if they're on Fairies, then my best plan here is to just try and Ryza the back row in case it's like Royal Oppression or something. So I sack for Ryza. Turns out it's bottomless. That's okay. That's going to happen some percentage of the time. Your Monarch's just going to trade 1-for-1 with the back rows, but that's okay because we got free tribute fodder with the Treeborn. We are down a card because that torrential was pretty good. And now the opponent does reveal that they are on Quickdraw with Honest. So that is the one variation of Lila stuff that would play torrential, is like the Quickdraw stuff, because they have Sangan, they have Dandy, they want to pop, so it kind of makes sense that they have torrential in these types of lists. They go ahead and make Stardust. That's fine. Our hand deals with Stardust pretty easily. We've got Honest, we've got Caius, we've got Chaos Sorcerer. None of these cards care about Stardust Dragon. We do take a big hit though. We pick up Debris Dragon. Great draw. Great draw. That means if anything goes crazy, we can nuke the board. We bring back Treeborn. Now here I actually make a play that I'm curious if you guys would have made this same play. Now my thought process is if I just Caius the Stardust, attack over a token, and then they Caius, my Chaos Sorcerer is dead. So I don't have a Dark in the grave. So I have to clear these tokens and not let them Caius my Caius, because that's my only Dark for my Chaos Sorcerer. So I have to be the last person to Caius in this circumstance. I have to make sure my Caius hits the graveyard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Lumina, pitch Shiny Black Sea. This also helps play around any sort of Tribute Summon Quickdraw, Synchro into Drill Warrior shenanigans. Bring out Raikou, attack the 2 tokens. Now if they want to sack for Caius, they might target my Treeborn Frog, which I'd be happy with because I do have Honest to back up one of my monsters. Guarantee that I can Caius the Stardust next turn, crash the Caius into the other Caius, and then drop my own Chaos Sorcerer later in the game. Or, Debris into Chaos Sorcerer or whatever, sort of stabilize the position that way. So I think this is the better sequencing of my cards. It lets me use my Lumina and my Honest a little bit better. It also lets me mill 3 cards this turn, which is pretty good. And as you can see, this is the power of milling in this deck. You have 11 really good cards to mill. Oftentimes you're going to mill 1 or 2 really good cards, and we mill 2 here. We milled a Wolf and a Plague, so we're going to be able to special summon back that Wolf. And now our position's actually looking pretty good. We have Honest to back this up. We have Caius, Chaos Sorcerer, Debris Dragon, which can all give us high value stuff. We've saved all of our high value, high impact stuff for later. And we've used our weaker monsters to sort of play through the opponent's board, more or less. They sack for Caius, kind of exactly what I thought was going to happen. Kind of exactly what I was afraid of if I had played that Caius. They banished the Wolf. So they're not really fearing Honest so much here. I think they just go for the big damage play. Caius attacks the Lumina, and then they try to attack with Stardust before I even get a chance to Honest. I Honest the Lumina, they take 1,000, they attack the Raikou, and I take 2,300. My life total is actually getting dangerously low, but I do have some good plays. I've got Lumina, pitch whatever I draw, bring out Lila, pop the back row. I can do that after I Caius the Stardust. The reason I can do it afterward is because if I Caius the Stardust, they can't really torrential or whatever. They'd have to have like Solemn, in which case they Solemn, and then I can drop Chaos Sorcerer and I win. So that's pretty much where I'm at. I go ahead and draw Necro Gardener, which is perfect because it's not only is it a dark, but it's also a great discard for Lumina. So I discard. No, I go for Caius first. I go for Caius, banish the Stardust first. I want to make sure the Stardust gets cleared before I bring back Lila to try and pop their back row and go for game. Now I pop their back row and it's Space Typhoon. And I think for a really long time here, they could have Gores. The first turn of the game, they had nothing. They had 6 cards and they just passed. So there's a chance they have Gores. I still don't even know if they had Gores here. I'm going to go ahead and check. Let's see what they did end up having. They didn't end up having Gores. They ended up just having 3 bricks, which is kind of funny. But I did think because they drew to 6 and passed the first turn, there was a chance they had Gores. And there was a chance they were setting the Space Typhoon because either A, they're bad, or B, they were trying to bait me to Lumina, Lila, pop the back row that was otherwise going to be dead. So I think that I made kind of a passive play here. I was thinking, okay, so if I just attack with Lumina, I just attack with Caius, I get 6 mills, I've got Plague, I've got Treeborn, I've got Necro Gardener. Nothing really can go that wrong with my opponent having 4 cards, not a very good grave setup. They don't have 5 monsters. They don't have 3 darks, that kind of thing. Yeah, I was thinking there's not really much they can do to come back. Next turn, I can just Debris Dragon, blow up the field, Chaos Sorcerer attack for game. So that's what I'm thinking. I just attack here, and if they do have Gores, okay, I can drop Chaos Sorcerer, banish the Gores, and then see where I go from there. End phase, I mill 6, I hit a Shiny Black Sea and a Wolf, of course, because that's just what the deck does. Opponent picks up Thunder King Ryo. They are forced to pitch Dark Arm to Pot of Avarice here. They Pot of Avarice. They shuffle back their cards. I really don't like Dark Armed in Quick Draw decks in general. I think it's bad. I think Chaos Sorcerer is okay, but Chaos Sorcerer heavily conflicts with Pot of Avarice and Drill Warrior, so it's like kind of tentative for me. I think it's good to have the light stuff, the Honest and the Thunder Kings, but I don't think they play very well with stuff like Dark Armed Dragon. Usually when you have Dark Armed Dragon in your deck, you want at least 9 other Darks. In this deck, we have a fair number of Darks, right? We have 3 Caius, we have Chaos Sorcerer, we have Necro, we have Plague, right? But it's just not enough Darks to support Dark Armed Dragon. So that's why we don't play it. This deck very clearly does not have enough Darks to support Dark Armed Dragon. They're 9 cards into their deck. They've seen 0 Darks, or 1 if you count the Caius. Like that's pretty bad. So they they admit defeat. They commit defeat. That's cursed. Oh shit, I should just hide the hands. Okay, there we go. This game is a little bit tougher. We did board in the Kaikus. I saw the Dark Armed and I saw the Honests, so I was thinking, okay, this deck is definitely more of a like Summon Lila deck and much less of a Set Raikou deck because they have like multiple Chaos things. And you also don't have Dark Armed unless you have Chaos Sorcerer. So Kaiku's also going to be pretty good there. Kaiku can also help interact with the Pot of Avarice, keep them off of that, keep their hands bricked, that sort of thing. In any case, they get to go first. They just draw pass again. I'm like, dang, that's crazy. I'm going to set Raikou. I'm going to set Needlebug. But this is pretty bad because if this Needlebug doesn't hit and they make like a Synchro monster, we actually kind of get owned with our hand. So they Foolish Dandy, and I'm like, shit. If they make Stardust here, that's really bad. They go ahead and activate Quickdraw. I chain Needlebug. Quickdraw activates in Edison format. It's like a weird rolling, but it's a minor difference. Anyway, we mill 5, and we don't hit a Shiny Black Sea, and I'm like, fuck, this drill is going to own me. They pitch Kaiku, and they Synchro into Drill Warrior, and I'm like, damn, this sucks. At least it wasn't Stardust. Stardust would have been the worst case scenario, but Drill Warrior's still pretty bad. We do have our Kaiku. We do have Caius. We can mount a little bit of a counter offense. As long as they don't have another play this turn, then we can mount a bit of a counter offense. And even if they do, we can still shove our Caius and hope that it works. It wouldn't, but you know, if they had another play this turn, it would be pretty bad for us. They go ahead and pitch a monster, Chaos Sorcerer, so confirming what I was thinking, making it a better decision to bring in the Kaiku here. Normally, I don't like Kaiku against Quick Draw decks because they've got like Hamster, they've got Raikou, they've got Dandy tokens. It's really hard to force in that attack. And the Vortexes don't really clear the stuff that let you force in that attack, which is the set monsters. So I don't really like Kaiku against your average Quick Draw Dandy deck. Like sometimes you're lucky to get a hit in. But against these types of decks that are like more chaos focused, it's much, much better. They didn't summon another monster. So now I'm like, okay, wait, hold up. If I can summon my Kaiku, I can banish their Dandelion. Now all of a sudden their Drill Warrior's just card disadvantage because it's not accruing any realistic advantage if they're not looping the tokens and building a wall. So if I just mill 3 here with Raikou, even if I don't hit anything, I did hit Plague, which is kind of nice, but I don't think it comes up. It might come up. And I get this Kaiku hit in. I attack with Kaiku first, of course, because if they have Gores, I don't want them to drop it on the Raikou. I want to guaranteedly banish this Dandelion. So I hit for 18. I get to banish the Dandelion and their Kaiku so they can't hate out my graveyard, which has Plague in it. It also has a bunch of monsters that I'd probably like to Avarice. I think I sided out my Avarices, actually, because I didn't want to play the long game against this deck because I was pretty sure I would lose the long game against this deck. Yeah, so I Kaiku, and then I hit their 2 monsters. Where was I going with this? Now when Drill comes back, it's like, okay, do they add back Quick Draw, which does nothing? I know they don't have another Dandelion because they pitched whatever, Kaiku to summon it the first time, which is a high-value card. Or do they add Chaos Sorcerer with neither a light or a dark in the graveyard? The Drill's just doing nothing here, which is nice, and we can actually just race it. If they attack over the Kaiku, we're taking 600, but next turn, I can sack for Caius, I can hit them for a bunch of damage, and maybe we can figure out a way to race them. So I hit for 2,000 this turn, they drop to 6,000, they're going to be able to get back Drill, they add back the Quick Draw Synchron, they attack the Kaiku because they have to, they deal us 600 damage, they pitch Debris Dragon, and they banish with an open board, which is amazing. Not only did we draw the best possible card here, which was a card that mills 3, more or less, but we also drew Card Trooper And we also milled Plague last turn, so we can set up Wolf, is what I meant to say. Jeez, you take a week off and can't even speak through just speak through a normal turn. Still, again, opponent's graveyard, nothing going on there. Quick draws in hand, doesn't really matter. Drill coming back, it's not going to add back anything I'm scared of besides maybe Debris Dragon, but they have to hit Card Trooper or one Dandelion for that Debris Dragon to even do anything. So I'm like, okay, this is heat. I'll just stack for Plague. I'll Card Trooper mill the Wolf. I'll hit for 4,000 and I'm good to go. They didn't have Gores last turn. They can't win because I can just Caius whatever they set up and attack them for game next turn. So I go ahead and stack the Wolf. They DD Crow the Plague, which honestly, cool. That's much better than them DD Crowing the Wolf because the Plague didn't represent any real threat here. The Plague would have synchroed into an Armory Arm maybe, but like that's not really a real threat, you know? They can just Caius the monster that's equipped with the arm. We also end up milling Treeborn, which is great. So that means even if they were able to bring back that debris and piece together like a nuke, then we can still tribute for Caius and attack for game next turn. So we get in 4,200. I attack with the Wolf first here again because I want to hit the most damage in case they have Gores. If they have the token, I'll figure it out later, but I just need to get damage in because we're playing a race game. So yeah, it's possible I should have attacked 1,900 first here, but it's kind of hard to tell for sure. Hit 200. Yeah, I probably should have attacked 1,900 first because I think that guarantees 4,000. Or it's like we lose 200 if they have Gores, but they would lose their token. And I should trade 200 life for a token, but I shouldn't trade 1,700 life for... Yeah, I should have attacked Card Trooper first. That was the right play. In any case, they Drill Warrior, they add back DD Crow, which doesn't matter because, again, like DD Crow, what are you doing? You're crowing the Treeborn? Okay, that's legit, but you still have to find a way to clear 3 monsters and defend yourself against the Caius the Shadow Monarch. They just attacked the Wolf. I say anything before damage, even though both my Honest are in the grave. Still got to chump check some people. They hit over my Wolf. I take 300. They pitch again to banish the Drill. They pitch the Quickdraw we knew about. So we know they have DD Crow in hand. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to mill 3 with Card Trooper. They let the Treeborn come back. And I'm like, yeah. I hit Wolf, which would be game. They DD Crow it, confirming that the set monster is not DD Crow. Well, not confirming, but basically telling me the set monster is not DD Crow. Sack for Caius. Caius target the set and then attack directly. What was in their hand? What was in their hand? Let's see. Yeah, again, Honest, Chaos Sorcerer. Not really a combo. Or not Honest, sorry. Pot of Avarice, Chaos Sorcerer. Not really a combo. Not really a combo. The Kaiku did a lot of work here, and I'm glad I sided it in. But again, against normal quick draw decks, you have to be a little bit careful. This is one of the rare instances we were able to banish a Dandelion, and then the opponent's deck kind of bricked on them, and they weren't able to piece together stuff to really capitalize off this Drill Warrior, which is, it's rare. It's rare that you're able to race a Drill Warrior in this format, but we managed to pull it off. So, pretty good showing for the deck in the first match, 2-0 over a Chaos quick draw deck. I don't really like these Chaos builds, but you know what? We take those. We take those. Next game against Sneaky Melon. This game is a bit unfortunate for a couple of reasons. I'll show you in a second. In any case, we lose the die roll, which sucks, but our hand's pretty good. We've got Needlebug and we've got Card Trooper, and these are like 2 of our better starters, actually. Probably 2 of the best. The only thing this hand really misses is like a light monster to have for our Honests. And if we had a light monster like Wolf, for example, off Needlebug or Card Trooper, hand just becomes insane. So opponent just sets, passes a turn. I normal summon Card Trooper. I mill 3. I don't hit a Wolf, Sag. I attack into the Raikou. Raikou pops the Card Trooper. We do draw a card, and it is Plague. Sadly, we did not mill it, but that's just going to be the case a lot of the time. They reveal Yellow Baboon, Archer of the Forest. So they're playing the Beast Yellow Baboon deck. In general, I think this deck is pretty bad, but it has some powerful plays. Like, it has, like, Rescue Cat do some crazy shit. And us not having Card Trooper in play is kind of scary if they do have Rescue Cat. So I'm going to set the Needlebug and pass. Hopefully mill, like, a Dandelion or something to protect us from Rescue Cat. End phase, I'm going to activate Needlebug because if I hit Dandelion specifically, I want to be able to sack the tokens for Ryza, basically. And I did hit Dandelion, but I didn't hit anything else. And I milled one of my Avarices and my Chaos Sorcerer. So not the best mills. We milled 8 and we only had 1 hit, but that's, you know, that's going to happen some percentage of the time. We draw Charge of Light Brigade, so our hand's still really good. We mill 3 more, mill our second Avarice, mill a couple of Monarchs. So milled 11, it's only 1 hit. It's not the best, but still fine. Here we go, Lumina. I do pitch the Plague. I had considered pitching the Shiny Black Sea because these decks do play Rescue Cat, but I was like, what are the chances, right? I bring out Lila. They bottomless the Lila. Kind of sucks. We attack for 1,000. End phase, mill 3, and we milled 14 and only had 1 hit, which was kind of crazy. Actually kind of crazy. In a deck with 11 hits and we mill 14 and we only get 1 hit. Kind of unlucky. Still, though, hand good, position good. We've got a Ryza, we've got double honest, we're big chilling. They just set 2, they activate Rescue Cat, and I'm like, okay. Here, they should just make Catastor and attack the Lumina. They should. In theory, yes, it gets owned by a Monarch, but at least you clear the Lumina guaranteed. Instead, they go for Airbellum, attack Lumina. We have Honest, and they just get destroyed, more or less. They attack a token. Main phase 2, or we do pick up Wolf. You know, we're going to start drawing those cards that we would have liked to mill. I pitched Shiny Black Sea in case they avarice back this stuff and try to go for a synchro play. And I put Lila into play. Plus, if we draw Recharge, I'm going to want Wolf in the graveyard. Turns out they had trapped Dushoot, and they just, like, waited to use it for some reason. I don't understand. Had they used it, though, they would have maybe taken either Honest or Ryza. And that's totally fine. I'm just like pitching a monster, summoning Lila, maybe even stacking the Wolf for Plague, and then attacking with everything. So, yeah, I attacked for 1,000. I think I should have stacked for Plague here. Yeah, I probably should have stacked for Plague. In any case, we mill Dandy, which is kind of scary. Yeah, I make a little bit of an error not using my Plague here. I probably should have stacked the Wolf. The reason I should have done that is because I didn't want to mill a Dandy and have my board get locked like this. Because our deck count is getting low. Both our averages are gone. We don't have room to activate Plague. We can sacrifice for Ryza, but it gives us 2 turns to win the game, which is actually kind of unlikely through like a single battle recruiter. They set a monster, which is a total meme. We draw for turn. We sack for Ryza. We target their monster. We attack with both, and they concede. So thankfully, we were able to win. Opponent missing a trap Dushoot sequence. I don't think it would have mattered because they would have taken Ryza and they would have just taken more damage there. And then I would have had Plague and stuff for the next turn. So, yeah, a little bit of missequencing on my part. A little bit of errors on the opponent's part. Kind of a messy game. Overall, showcase the power of how much this deck can mill. And you can imagine if you're milling 14, you're hitting like even 2 or 3 cards. It's amazing. Okay, this hand is much better. We have Recharge. We have Needle Bug. This hand's actually pretty resilient to things like Trap Dushoot because we do pick up a second Lightsworn name for our Recharge, which is nice. Normally drawing Wolves is bad, but in this deck it's not too bad because you have a lot of ways to convert it. So we pitch, mill, and then yeah, just miss, which is great. But that's okay. I am gonna set Hamster here. I thought about it a lot because this deck does set Raikou, and we saw a set Raikou last game, and we also saw Cat into Raikou last game. But this deck also sets Hamster and also sets Giant Rat. So it's a higher likelihood that it's Hamster or Giant Rat, which would be much better for us to set our Hamster than it is a Raikou, which would mean we would set our Shiny Black Sea. So I'm going to set the Hamster, set the Needle Bug. Worst case scenario, they flip a Raikou, they pop this, they have Solemn for our back row, and they have like Cat into double Airbellum, and they hit like Caius Debris. That's like the worst case scenario, but that's the least likely scenario. So I was like, I'm not going to prepare for the worst case scenario. I'm going to prepare for the most likely scenario, which is that it's a Hamster. Unfortunately, they do have Ryza, which is pretty fucking good here. Normally, these beast decks don't play non-beast monsters. Normally, they just play all beast monsters so they can play Solidarity. But looks like this list is actually on Monarchs as well, and I wasn't prepared for this. Had I known that they were on Monarchs, I would have definitely adjusted my game plan. Now I'm actually in kind of a bad spot. I have to take this 2400, and end phase, I do have to Needle Bug away my own Hamster. The reason being, if I draw Hamster next turn and I set it, they'll Raikou pop it, and I'm just super far behind. I'm taking 1,000,000 damage, that kind of thing, and I only hit a Necrogardener, and unfortunately, had I waited, I would have hit a Dandelion off of my Needle Bug, so yeah, maybe a bit of an error there. Maybe a bit of an error. Here I summon the Dandelion, I attack the Raikou pops Dandelion, I get 2 tokens, but my position is actually pretty bad now. They mill 3 cards, their Avarice is about to be live, everything is going south. They attack a token, they pass a turn, I sack for Caius, because I just need to get this Ryza off my back, more or less. I could Debris try to nuke, but I'm afraid of Starlight Road or Solemn Judgment being pretty bad for me here. And if I let's say I Caius this turn, Debris will be live next turn. But if I Debris this turn, and they Solemn my Debris, then my Caius won't actually be live next turn, because they'll just attack my last Tribute Fodder. So I have to sequence it this way to guarantee I have a play next turn through Solemn Judgment. They do have Solemn Judgment, they stop me. They attack for 24. They set a monster, I believe, and pass. Yep. Here, I go for Debris Nuke because I have to. Unfortunately, they do have Book of Moon, so I have 2 ways to interact with Debris Dragon, which is kind of rare. I attack the set monster, it's Hamster, and I get fucking owned. So I concede and go to the next game. That Ryza really mixed me up. Had I known that they were on Monarchs, I would have maybe sequenced things a little bit differently, and maybe I should have just drawn my Hamster again and taken that L, But I was really scared of getting Monarch again, or even Wind Blasted or something like that. So that was pretty good. I think another thing too, some decks should start playing Ryza just because it's insane. Like legit, like Caius is good. Don't get me wrong, Caius is the best Monarch. But I think some decks should just start playing Ryza because it can get you free wins like that. That was a game that, like, if I had gotten Caius, it would have been much better for me than if I had gotten Ryza. Ryza there was definitely crushing. So definitely something people should consider more of in like hamster style decks. I mean, in this deck I'm playing 2 Ryza, but it's a Monarch style deck. You get the idea. This game I get to go first. I start with some pretty heat cards. I've got Recharge, I've got Lila, I've got Needlebug, so I'm milling like 10 cards this turn, easy. I go for Recharge, I draw into Honest Caius, and my hand's just amazing. Like, this is just a great hand. Normally, you're going to have at least one of your breaks in your hand. That's fine. It's just going to happen in a deck like this. You're going to summon Lila, set the Needlebug, end phase mill 3, hit Shiny Black Sea. That means no Rescue Cat into Catastor. Thank goodness. That's one of the ways they could break up Lila Honest, and then pass the turn. They go for Space Typhoon. We chain Needlebug. We mill 5. We miss completely, which is okay because we did hit the Shiny Black Sea. They summon Giant Rat. They attack into Lila. I let this happen. I'm thinking maybe they're going to grab like an Injection Fairy Lily or something. We can just use Honest, I think, against Injection Fairy Lily. If they go for it. They go Rat, and then at this point, they actually disconnect, which is kind of sad. I would have liked to play this out because this would have been a really fun game to play out. They get a special summon Yellow Baboon. They banish the 2 Giant Rats, and then the opponent disconnects, which is kind of sad. I think this would have been a really fun game. This would have been a good one. They did have some back row to defend their stuff. They would have dropped the Yellow Baboon. They would have gotten a monster off the Rat, maybe even Rescue Cat, or maybe even Injection Fairy Lily, and like forced my Honest, but still had a threat. And then it would have been like a pretty close game, actually. I think it would have been a good one. Our hand wasn't amazing. Like, it was good. We had Debris Caius, but like, it wasn't like, this is not an unbeatable hand by any means. And the opponent still has 5 cards, provided, you know, they get something off the Rat that actually matters. So we're at even cards. I wonder how this game would have gone. Sneaky Melon, if you're watching this video, let me know in the comments below. Kind of shame, not shameful. What is it? Kind of sad. There we go. Okay, last replay I got for you is against Yeah, all right. Last replay. This one's a really good one. This one showcases the deck, I think, really well. Gonna keep timing out. I gotta remember to not I gotta export the deck list, you know, so it doesn't time out on me. You guys get the idea. Let's go back to the deck list real quick. Let's reflect on it. After these last few games, I was thinking, okay, yes, now it's not gonna connect. That's just classic dueling book. All right. Whatever. No, it's cool. It's fine. I didn't want to look at my deck list or anything. It's I should have exported the deck. Oh, I'm so underprepared. I come back after a week and this is what happens. Don't forget to subscribe, by the way, while I'm molding. Okay, opening hand's pretty good, but I'm going second. But it's pretty good. Opponent's on 41 cards. Keep that in mind. It's kind of important to note. And then they set, back row, and monster, and pass. Our hand's pretty good, though. We've got Solar Recharge, so we can go for that. Pitch Wolf, draw 2, mill 2. And we draw another Light Swarm, which is good for our Solar Recharge. We also mill Plague, Shiny Black Sea. So this is the power. If you get a good mill like this, it's pretty difficult for some decks to really deal with you. Here we go for Solar Recharge again. Draw 2, mill 2. This time, we mill Raikou Needlebug. So 2 for 4 is not bad. That's actually not bad. We take those. Because in this deck, I think you're like a little over 25% chance to mill something good. So 2 out of 4 is pretty good. We go ahead and I think just set Dandelion, set Needlebug. I'm thinking if it's Raikou, they'll pop the monster. They'll flip and pop the monster, and then they'll like sack for Caius or something, if that's the case. If it's not Raikou and they just sack for Caius, fuck me, I get owned, but at least I have Treeborn, Ryza, maybe I can make something happen. And the chances are they're not going to just sack a set monster for Caius most of the time. Most of the time that's not going to happen. More often than not, they're going to flip a Raikou and pop my set monster. That's going to happen more frequently than they're going to sack the set monster for a Caius. They go ahead and draw for turn. They normal summon Dimensional Alchemist. Now, let's go ahead and just show both hands, because like I know a lot of people like the fairy gameplay, and I kind of want to talk about why the opponent played this a little bit weird. First off, I don't think you really want to summon Dimensional Alchemist here, because it's like kind of like one of those things that you want to play once you have something banished. You have Torrential set, which is not great. I'm not sure what they drew for the... You know what? I'm going to refresh this. I'm going to start this over, and I'm going to commentate both sides. Because this is a really close game, and I think it has some really cool stuff going on. So, from my perspective, I'm thinking, okay, easy clap. I'm just going to set Dandelion, whatever. You guys saw that. So they set Shining Angel, set Torrential Tribute here. This is not a great setup. I actually really like normal summon Dimensional Alchemist, banish the top card. Why? If you hit a monster, your Torrential's now great. If you set Shining Angel, your Torrential's pretty bad, because now you have to Torrential away your Shining Angel. I don't like this opening. Let's say I have a monster that can attack over Dimensional Alchemist. Well, you have Honest, so you're fine, and you can keep banishing and guaranteeing that your Dimensional Alchemist will be live, and that it can float into something better later on. You want to hold Shining Angel for when you find Christia, because that can give you the necessary numbers you need to pad out the graveyard for Christia, more or less. So I think this opening from the opponent is like a galactic error. It's really, really bad. But, you know, whatever. I do like that they held the Solemn. You don't want to set it here and be forced to Solemn a Heavy Storm. I think you just want to hold it, and then if they Heavy Storm the Torrential, you take the 1-for-1 trade. But I definitely don't think you set Shining Angel behind Torrential Tribute. I think you summon Dimensional Alchemist, you banish the top card, and then you use Honest to back it up. And if you hit a monster, you also have Torrential to float your Dimensional Alchemist into something. So I actually think that this opening is very weak. Very, very weak from the opponent. We go ahead and Solar Recharge, mill 2, we hit the Plague, whatever. And then I go for Solar Recharge again. You guys already saw this. Mill 2, I set Dandelion, set Needlebug, pass the turn. Now they pick up Book of Moon, which is actually pretty okay. It's like a good draw here. They do summon the Dimensional Alchemist now. And this is why their play is so awkward. You just commit 2 monsters into your own Torrential. And then on top of that, you don't even guarantee that you're going to banish something here with the Dialk. You could lose your whole board to something bad. You know, so they summon Dialk, banish the top card. They miss. It's a Legacy of Yatagarasu. So when you're playing the Legacy in these decks, you're playing the higher deck counts, you're going to miss on your Alchemist a lot more often. So you got to, you know, take advantage of the fact that you can get multiple mills by starting with this in play. Had they had this guy in play and the Angel in hand, they could have played this turn way better. You know, they mill another card, they go ahead and fucking do their thing, you know? You get the idea. Anyway, Shining Angel attacks the set, it's Dandelion. We just let this happen. I'm like, okay, this is fine. I'll just figure it out next turn. They set another back row, end phase, I Needlebug, and I mill 5, and I hit Wolf, which is really nice. Now it's also really awkward for them because if they Torrential, they're losing fucking Dialk, Shining Angel, no value, and if I attack the Shining Angel, they have to have Honest. They have to use their Honest now, which is awkward because you're using Honest to defend a board that's just not going to anything, basically. Like, you're forced to use your Honest. Whereas before, if I attacked Dimensional Alchemist and you had milled more cards and you hit a monster, then you wouldn't be forced to use your Honest, more or less, or in order to bleed card advantage. Where was I going with this? You guys get the idea. Shiny Black Sea, not that good in this matchup. Yes, they can synchro with Herald, but it's rare. We go ahead and attack the Alchemist. They book our Wolf. I don't know if I like this play from them, but it does allow them to keep up their Herald of Orange Light. I also don't know if I like setting Book without setting Solemn. Now, if you're setting Book and Torrential and your opponent has Heavy Storm, you would actually like to use Solemn Judgment to defend that. So I think that setting the Solemn alongside those 2 cards would have been much, much better for the opponent here. And it might have even guaranteed them this game. So I actually disagree with them holding the Solemn a further turn. Couple of slight errors, I think, that definitely affected this game. I normal summoned Debris Dragon, and this is pretty bad for them. Because I'll bring back Dandelion, right? They have to Herald this, more or less, or they're going to lose their whole board, right? But if they Herald this, then what do they have? They have Shining Angel, Dialk, Torrential, which is terrible because it owns their own monsters. But at least if they Torrential at this point, it's going to put them to 4 Fairies. So I think they do actually have to Herald here. They don't. They just let it happen, which I don't understand at all. Because now they're losing 3 cards for my 2, more or less. And I get tokens out of it as well. So I don't like this. I don't like this from the opponent. I think they should have Heralded. Honest and Herald don't really do much when you have no board. Plus, if you Herald and Honest, you know, like if you pitch those 2 and you still have Dialk, Shining Angel, these cards can get you where you need to be. Like, it puts you to 4 Fairies Engraved. Now it's like kind of hard for you to go to 4 Fairies Engraved unless you top deck another Recruiter or something. They do top deck Soul of Purity and Light. I do like this card in this deck, but yeah, sometimes it can be awkward. Here it's not bad though. It's going to allow them to kill both our tokens and kind of put us in an awkward spot with regards to this Ryza, which is kind of annoying. They set Solemn. We have Treeborn. I'm like, okay, Treeborn's pretty good here. I can just set Treeborn and try to get my Monarchs live. Card Destruction's not bad because it can get rid of that Honest if I need to, but for now, we're just going to sack the Treeborn. They didn't attack there. There's really no reason not to. If you're going to Herald like a hamster or something, then you might as well just get it out of play and not let me amass cards in play, you know? There's really no reason not to attack there. If it's, for example, another Dandelion or a Shiny Black Sea or a Raikou, you just want to get the body out of play, I think. Yeah, for sure. You want to get the body out of play. Sack for Ryza. We get heralded, but this is fine. We're at 8,000. We're up cards. That herald definitely should have been used on the Debris Dragon, for sure. In any case, the top deck Nova Summoner, which is actually a really good draw for them because it kind of keeps them in this game, more or less. So despite playing this game really awkwardly and using their cards, I think in a pretty bad fashion, like they lost their Torrential for free. They basically lost their Shining Angel for free. They didn't really fully capitalize off of their Dialk. That could have floated into something had they gotten a few more mills off of it. They didn't really use their Honest to its fullest potential. In fact, I'm shocked that they didn't pitch the other Herald. Instead, they decided to pitch the Honest instead. That's just such a strange play to me. But I guess their thought process is if they draw another Fairy, they're going to hold it for Herald. But they didn't even do that. They just summoned the Nova Summoner immediately. So it would have been so much better to have Honest here. I don't get it. In any case, we take some damage. But since we are at 8,000, it's okay. And they elect not to attack into Gores, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because they can just synchro into like Colossal or something. They could have just attacked with Soul first, and if I had Gores, they could have heralded it. You know what I mean? Like, or they could have summoned Herald and made Colossal main 2. Like, they're just missing damage. It's just so weird to Windmill Slam this Nova after holding the Herald and pitching the Honest instead. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like their own game plan is like kind of conflicting with itself. We bring back Treeborn Frog. We sack it for Caius. This is going to banish the Nova Summoner. They're going to Solemn. And I'm like, ah, shit. Now I need to card Destruction to defend my life because things are getting kind of rough. What I was thinking is their last card was potentially Christia, which could get bad for us too. At least now, if they have Christia, they have to sacrifice. Well, they do get to clear both our tokens, but yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad for us if they have Christia. Because one of our Honest is gone, which is one of our few ways to main deck out Christia. We still do have 2 Raikous. So it's like 1 Honest and 2 Raikous left in 14 cards. But yeah, pretty tough situation to be in. They did find Christia. They attacked the tokens. They set a card and pass. And here I'm just fucking shocked. Why would they not tribute for Christia? I don't get it. Maybe they're thinking like they can get a circumstance where stuff's going to happen. In any case, I bring back Treeborn Frog, and I need to play through that back row before I go for my Caius. I need to make sure my Caius resolves. Because, yeah. I was thinking I could sack for Caius, target their back row, and then go somewhere from there. But, nah. I just needed to Lila pop the back row to make sure the Caius resolved. Because Caius needs to clear Nova Summoner and then attack over the Soul of Purity and Light. And I just need to pray they don't top that Christia because they'll be at 4 Fairies. Unfortunately, they have Bottomless there. They pick up Mind Control, which is a card I really like with Cyber Valley and stuff. It's also pretty good to out Raikous. They attack over Treeborn. They attack me directly for 2,000. And then they pass the turn. Oh, no, they tribute summon for Christia now. So I'm like kind of shocked they didn't do this last turn. I get it, kind of. But at the same time, like if they did, it would have locked out my Plague and my Treeborn. Instead, they like gave me an opportunity to use my cards. So I didn't really understand why they waited on that, to be honest. It didn't make a lot of sense. I guess there's a greedy play to hoping that one of these hits the grave and not both of them, but yeah, I don't know. In any case, we pick up Card Trooper, which is at the very least a redraw. We set it because if we normal summon it, then we risk milling one of our few out, so we just have to set it. They fortunately have Mind Control, and this gives us an opportunity to out the Christia with our Caius the Shadow Monarch. They attack directly with both, pass the Card Trooper back, we pick up Caius. So we would have drawn Caius off the Card Trooper had they attacked, and we would have drawn 1 card deeper. We sack for Caius, banish the Christia, stack Solar Recharge for Plague, synchro into Dark End Dragon. Dark End Dragon pop the Shining Angel, and now they're at 6 Fairies, so no top deck Christia. They have 1 draw to answer Dark End plus a Caius that's coming. Their Torrential is gone, so there's really nothing they can draw here that keeps them in this game. We attack, they set a back row, Treeborn comes back, sack for Caius, banish the back row, and that's it. I think the opponent played that game really weird. I think there was like 6 or 7 plays that just like didn't maximize off of the value of their cards. They drew a lot of really good cards, but the cards didn't amount to much or give them the positional advantage that they needed. There's a way they could have played that game to where they had Solemn with Christia. Like, there is a line that leads them to that path. You know what I mean? There are lines that lead them to these positions that you need to be in order to win games. I think that Fairy players oftentimes just play the cards in their hand and they're like, why is this not working? But they're just slamming the cards on the table. They're not really thinking like, I have these cards. How does my deck actually win? How do I piece together an actual victory with this type of stuff? You get the idea. All right, next game. I don't remember what I sided. I think I sided in the Vortexes and the Hamsters. I think that's what I sided in. I might have sided in... I think I just sided in the Vortexes and the Hamsters. Can I finally look at my fucking deck? Is this something that can happen? Bruh. Okay, I guess we can't look at the deck list, but I think I decided in the Vortex and the Hamsters. As you can see, Vortex in the hand. Opponent starts out with Dust Shoot, Typhoon. The cool thing about this deck, Lila Needlebug Monarch deck is it completely blanks Heavy Storm. It also completely blanks stuff like Lila popping back row, that kind of thing. However, it doesn't completely blank Space Typhoon because they can M-phase Space Typhoon and Needlebug. So technically, it isn't completely blank. It's just very likely blank. I think I cited out the Shiny Black Seas. Now that I'm thinking about it, I cited out the Shiny Black Seas, and I cited out... What else did I cite out? I don't really remember what I cited. But I brought in the Hamsters and I brought in the Vortexes. My game plan was like, if they have Christia, I'll have Raikou, I'll have Vortex. And then if they have their openers, I have Hamster, which is good against that. And then maybe we can piece something together. That was my game plan. They go ahead and draw into Dimensional Alchemist. This is going to be a grindy control mirror. They normal summon Shining Angel. They set 2. They pass. Thankfully for us, we find another Lightsworn name. So this Trap Dust Shoot does not just ruin this hand completely. Normally, Trap Dust Shoot would have just ended us here, but as it stands, they take the Debris, which I actually think is a really smart take here. Yes, you could take Raikou, you could take Wolf, but Raikou is at best only ever going to pop 1 card. Debris Dragon was pretty good against them last game. It would have either forced a Herald or forced, them to 2-for-1 themselves with their Torrential. So, yeah, it was pretty bad for them last game. So I can see exactly why they take the Debris Dragon here. Debris Dragon is just a better card against their deck. Whereas Raikou, it's going to be 1-for-1 trade. You'll take that. That's fine. Again, though, I don't really like the opponent summoning Shining Angel over Dialk, but it makes a little bit more sense in this hand because if they miss off Dialk, they're just losing their Dialk. However, now that you know the matchup, now that you know that my deck can't really effectively attack over Dimensional Alchemist, you can pretty much guarantee that you'll get a second turn with it milling, especially with Herald of Orange Light being able to stop something like Wolf. So I think that, and also with Trap Dust Shoot being able to take something that could attack over the Alchemist, more or less. I think that summoning Alchemist here is still better than summoning Shining Angel. I think you want to hold Shining Angel because it is your everything card. This guy does everything. Dimensional Alchemist does kind of everything. It's like a little bit of everything. Whereas Shining Angel, it just guarantees you any card you want from your deck. DD Warrior Lady, whatever. You get the idea. Honest. We recharge, pitch Wolf, draw into Chaos Sorcerer Lumina, and our hand's looking pretty fucking good. We mill 2, and we get a good mill. So this is really good because we milled a Dark, we milled a Plague. It's just like super perfect hand. I think I just set the Raikou and pass. I kind of just want to pop their back row and go from there. Again, opponent summons the Dialk here. A turn behind on milling. They hit, though. They hit a Raikou, which is pretty good. So their Dialk will at least float. I thought for a really long time here, I was like, I should probably pop the Dialk. Just guarantee it misses timing. But I ended up popping the back row. I just wanted to make sure there was no oppression. Oppression would have owned our hand, so I was like, I'll make the safe play, pop the back row. I have a lot of things that wall out Dialk, Shining Angel. I have 3 Hamster, I have 2 Honest post board, and I have an Avarice to sort of like find ways to deal with this board. Worst case scenario, I'm Vortexing their monsters. They get back a Raikou. Who fucking cares, right? So I did pop the back row. A little bit unfortunate it was a blank, but I think it's the safer and the better play here. And we do pick up Hamster, which is really nice. So I go ahead and Avarice, shuffle back all our dudes except the Plague. This is a little awkward. Like I said earlier in the video, I don't love Avarice with Chaos Sorcerer, as you can see. But my deck mills a lot faster than your average Quickdraw deck. We did find Solar Recharge, and we would have had Hamster to go crazy there too as well. So we mill 2, whatever. Chaos Sorcerer still alive. Can't really complain. Gonna set the hamster and pass. We've got a couple of shitty cards in our hand now, but Vortex can get one of them in the grave. We can maybe figure something out. They summon another Alchemist. Now I'm like, damn, this Vortex looks like shit. So they attack this with the Shining Angel. We get a Raikou. They don't Herald it, which I don't fucking understand at all. I'm like, Herald this every day of the fucking week. Just Herald this. Pitch Honest. Fuck it. Pitch fucking Honest. You just win. You deal 3,600 this turn if you Herald here. You deal 3,600. And if I Vortex you, which you know about the Vortex, you just get cards back. I don't understand this play at all from the opponent. I really don't. I think it's just, when is your Herald going to get better? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to wait for me to Raikou pop your board and then the Herald's defending nothing? The whole point of Herald is to get a tempo advantage or a life advantage on your opponent. Very rarely are you going to get card advantage with a Herald. Very, very rarely. You want to get a tempo advantage. That's the whole point of this card. You have a lot of positive tempo cards in your hand. You can deal 3,600. You don't even have to pitch the Honest if you want. You can pitch the Soul. Fuck it. You could pitch the Soul, hold the Honest, and then if I try to attack over your monsters, I'm down 3,600. I'm down to fucking whatever my life total is. I think 2,600 after that. And if I attack one of your monsters, you just drop Honest and I lose. So it's like, it's really bad for me if you Herald this hamster. I don't understand why you wouldn't use it there. They attack the Raikou. Raikou pops the Dialk. And now all their pressure is just gone. The Herald is just going to put them... Like, when you're at 0 cards and you have no pressure, Herald is shit. But when you have pressure, Herald is insane. It doesn't even matter if you're -1. If your opponent is losing the game. Does that make sense? Use Herald to defend your card advantage. Or not card advantage, board position. That's it. Yeah, there we go. I can't speak straight today, man. It's been a long day. It's been a long day. Uses the Herald on the Sorcerer, but I'm like, fuck it. I'll just fucking Vortex your monsters. You can have your stupid Angel. At this point, I'm just up so many cards, and I'm not taking any damage. The Herald put them so minus, and they're at 5 fairies now. So, like, I can't lose the game. I just can't lose the game from this. Like, from this position, it's impossible. I sack for Caius. They have another Herald, but even still, I don't even care that my hand is 3 terrible cards. If I ever find a Miller, I can stack a Wolf for Plague and get pluses out the ass. So, yeah, I just fucking win. I just pass the turn. I draw Celestia. Here, I had a couple of plays. This is a really interesting line, and I wonder if you guys saw this as well. I normal summon Debris. I bring back Dandy. I synchro into Ancient Fairy and I special summon some tokens. The reason I do this is because I'm like, alright, he'll attack over one of the tokens. Next turn I can use Ancient Fairy, special summon out a Wolf, stack a Wolf for Plague, sack for Celestia, sack one of the Wolves for Celestia, mill my other Wolf, and just be in a great spot. So that was my game plan, basically. They summon Honest. They don't attack over the Ancient Fairy using Honest. Instead, they elect to kill the 2 tokens, which is fine, I guess. They pass the turn, and then we go ahead and go for the play, although I missequence it. I special summon the Wolf, and what I should have done was stack Wolf for Plague first, and then sacked the Wolf for Celestia so I could mill my other Wolf. But I messed up, and I just sacked for Celestia, and I hit the Angel. I'm like, ah, shit. I should have sacked the other Wolf first. Now, we can't attack because I used Ancient Fairy Dragon's effect to special summon a level 4 from my hand. But our board's insane. They have 6 fairies. No, they have way more. They have 8 fairies. They're never dropping Christia on me unless they have, like, special summon guy, brain control, sack for Christia. And that's 3 cards out of their hand. And I have a Raikou for it in that case. So I'm chilling. I'm just big chilling here. I don't think I can lose this game. They just pass the turn. Here I just switch the hamster, attack with both. If they have Gores, main phase 2, I can just make Bionic and bounce it. Legit. I set the Necrogardna because next turn I can stack for Plague, make Mistworm, bounce whatever, and then go for game more or less. They go ahead and find Honest. They set it, or I think they had Honest. What did they find? They found Return. They set Honest. They don't set the Return because they only have a Raikou banished. We draw Wolf. No, we draw Caius, which is insane. I go ahead and stack for Plague. Synchro to Mistworm, bounce their card, attack with Celestia. Probably should have attacked with, no, yeah, I definitely wanted to attack with Celestia first because they're forced to drop Gores. I can attack over the token, and then main phase 2, I can summon Lila, mill my Wolf, and just be like, do your worst. I've got Necrogardna to protect the Lila in case they attack it. Lila can pop the back row, Caius can banish the Gores, and we can win the game next turn. Now, they do have a decent play here, which is actually brain control the Lila, and then sacrifice those 2 for Honest. But instead, they just brain control the Celestia, which doesn't... Or not Honest, sorry. For Christia. But instead, they brain control the Celestia, which doesn't make any sense. Because they set a back row. Why would you not brain control the Lila? It just doesn't make any sense. In any case, the tribute for Christia, and we have Caius, so we're not really worried. Lila's going to break the back row. We're going to sack for Caius, and that's going to be game. I think the opponent played this game pretty poorly. I think they played the other game pretty poorly. I think this game we had a really nice start, but I don't know. It could have been a close one. It's a really interesting match. There's a lot to think about in this match. I haven't really fully processed it because I just got done playing it. I'm going to be rewatching this match for sure. I'm going to be thinking about a lot of this stuff because there's a lot to be learned, not only from the fairy perspective, but also from the Lightsworn perspective. I think the turn with the Ancient Fairy Dragon was maybe questionable, but I wanted to do something cool, and I thought it led me to the best position to where I was going to win for sure. But I don't know. Also, let me know what you guys think of the deck, which... let me know what you guys think of the deck in the comments below. See you guys next time. Peace.